Stand back! Cartman, stop it. I am going to Casa Bonita!
I've always loved the behind-the-scenes content when looking at South Park and the unique process behind making the series, and you get to see Trey Parker and Matt Stone in their element, showing off their shared passion for both storytelling and comedy. But it's also great to see these guys embark on new projects, such as sinking $40 million into an iconic Mexican restaurant. Yeah, definitely not something I expected to see as a documentary, and I didn't expect to enjoy it as much as I did, but here we are.
Yay! Jesus Christ!
Now streaming on Paramount Plus, the documentary film Casa Bonita, Mi Amor captures the insane efforts behind renovating this once beautiful restaurant experience. The original owners filed for bankruptcy in April 2021, revealing that they were millions of dollars in debt. And hearing the restaurant might be up for sale, Parker and Stone jumped at the idea of owning Casa Bonita.
Hey, you want to buy Disneyland? You know what I mean? It was just like, I could do that?
Making a deal to purchase the location for $3.1 million. That does sound like a lot of money, but just wait until the realization sets in for these guys about the renovation expenses.
I better go start making some new TV shows.
If you enjoy TV shows like Kitchen Nightmares or really any generic home renovation program, you're gonna love this. Despite the horrible conditions and the crazy attempts made by the previous owners to fix dangerous problems, I really like how Trey and Matt remain in good spirits for the most part. Their reactions to the general condition of Casa Bonita is absolutely hilarious.
We're gonna make this better and this better and this better and this better. And it's like, well, first of all, that's gonna kill people, that's gonna kill people, that's gonna kill people.
I would arguably say they are using humor as a means of coping with the extraordinary challenge ahead, but this just seems like their typical attitude to things, generally speaking. It's one of the many reasons why I enjoy the behind-the-scenes content for South Park, especially the audio commentaries where you get to hear their general thoughts on certain topics, why an episode was conceived in the first place, and what difficulties they would face during the creative process. So, why do the South Park guys have a fascination with this restaurant? I feel many, including myself, only really know about Casa Bonita thanks to South Park Season 7 and the episode appropriately titled Casa Bonita. It's portrayed as the ultimate experience for Mexican dining and fun for children. You've got photo opportunities, cliff divers, haunted house style attractions, puppet shows, and to a kid, this all sounds amazing, and Eric Cartman is desperate to join the other boys for Kyle's birthday party at Casa Bonita, but Kyle doesn't want him there. He wants to invite Butters, which upsets Cartman to the point of kidnapping Butters to then take his place. Knowing very little about the location, I really like how the documentary uses a lot of archival footage to fill you in on the restaurant's history. For example, I had no idea it originally opened back in the early 70s, and how it was home to its own unique cast of characters. Based in Lakewood, Colorado, it's an iconic location for locals and tourists alike to appreciate, and leading us to the present day, as time went on, the restaurant lost itself, being passed around different owners and neglected. And so becoming a shell of its former self, along with COVID being an obstacle, it shut down on a long-term basis. It even got to the point where locals were protesting, trying to save the restaurant, which I found quite surprising considering how the food was apparently awful. Revealing why the South Park guys bought the restaurant, they chose to save it mainly because Trey is a huge fan. He's almost blinded by his childhood nostalgia, where even his father Randy makes an appearance to try and rationalize why his son is making such a large purchase.
He always would say things about, I would change this.
They agree to buy the restaurant, but like with most things, there's a catch. An extremely expensive catch. I'd say this is really the main hook for the documentary film. It's an interesting angle to explore, seeing these comedy icons go through various phases of regret, frustration, and joy. They had a budget in mind of approximately $6.5 million to complete the renovations, but quickly, this project becomes a sinkhole of expenses, which makes absolutely no sense from a business perspective. I also really enjoy how the documentary is paced, with various clips from local news coverage, providing general updates about the state of the project. And as things do progress, the construction crew reveals more and more problems. There's so much that needs doing to the infrastructure before Trey and Matt can even plan anything relating to entertainment. And with this in mind, there are several sort of all is lost kind of moments where it genuinely feels like everybody is about to give up on Casa Bonita. It's just too expensive, and it feels like the more they look at it, the more expensive it becomes. One question I had in mind whilst watching these sequences unfold was, surely an inspection was done before the purchase went ahead? And this is luckily answered in the film, since the building was purchased out of bankruptcy. It was literally sold as is, in very poor condition to put things lightly. There was no real way around this, and that's the approach the South Park guys take. They just accept their fate at this point. They're already in too deep having bought the place, and it also feels like they're obligated to restore the restaurant. It clearly means a lot to the locals, and so Trey especially wants to do Casa Bonita justice. But nobody expected the level of renovations required to bring things up to code.
We knew we were going to inherit something that was fucked up, but we didn't know it near that fucked up.
With this expense in mind, it's also worth noting how in 2021 Trey and Matt agreed to one hell of a deal in relation to the future of South Park. For an astounding $900 million, they are contracted to keep making the series up until season 30, plus a total of 11 streaming movies to make for Paramount+, which they've been making roughly 2 per year, and I'd like to think the Casa Bonita as a project would still have gone ahead even without this deal having been made, but at the same time, I am certain it helped push things in the right direction in order for the restaurant to receive the best quality construction and renovations. I would say this very much feels like a nostalgia-driven passion project, and I do love how Trey in particular wants to preserve as much of the original 70s restaurant as possible. It clearly means a lot to him, but that doesn't mean he won't introduce his own creative input.
The worst part about being a skeleton is I can't kiss anyone because I don't have ribs. You don't have what? Ribs. What are ribs?
I do like how their collective sense of humour and passion to entertain is a major focus for the latter end of the documentary, and one part I found very interesting was seeing a more brutal side to Trey in particular, and this relates to how, whilst they were working with restaurant actors, playing the characters from Casa Bonita, Trey and Matt are described as very indecisive about the script that they're delivering, which some of the actors took issue with. But it's nothing personal, and to the South Park guys, it's just about making sure they get this project right. With the amount of money they have spent or are willing to spend on the project, it is vital that they are happy with the end result. And doing a trial opening for the restaurant had its problems. By this point, it almost feels as though it's finished, but with many teething issues, whether it be problems with the ordering system, or how generally it just doesn't feel like the Casa Bonita they remember from their childhood. Either way, I think this is an interesting side to Trey Parker in particular that you don't really see often, if at all. He becomes very blunt in his responses and reactions to certain things, which at times was comedy gold.
That's literally what they did.
That's what they did. That's
What
why I
in
said.
the name of fuck?
Similar to the documentary 6 Days to Air, which was included on the Season 15 DVD sets, I really appreciate seeing more footage of Trey and Matt in the recording booth doing the South Park voices. If you've not seen them doing this before, it's very funny and definitely worth checking out. Tying all of this to the restaurant ordeal, we get a glimpse of the behind the scenes of Season 26, with them recording lines for the Dick and Bow's hot dog episode. And it's such a shame that this sort of footage isn't included on the DVD set. It's disappointing we don't get audio commentaries anymore, but if this kind of footage does already exist, surely some kind of extras could be made from it. I don't know, I suppose we should be grateful that we're still getting South Park physical media full stop. Wrapping up the film, I found the ending honestly kind of bittersweet, which I feel is the tone that they were going for. It's oddly reminiscent of the South Park Casa Bonita episode, where the restaurant opens, luckily everything does go smoothly from what we can see, but then Trey realizes that he can't really enjoy the restaurant in the same way everybody else can, and that's because he is Trey Parker. His fame is what's preventing him from going to Casa Bonita and enjoying the landmark he helped restore. Then he asks himself the question about whether or not the restoration was worth it if he can't go, and he seems pretty content with everybody else enjoying the attraction. Overall, I really enjoyed this documentary, and if you're a big fan of South Park, I definitely recommend giving it a watch. There's some excellent behind-the-scenes content for the show, but the uplifting and entertaining story with the restoration project is something that surprisingly really draws you in. But anyway, that's going to do it for this discussion and review looking at Casa Bonita, Mi Amor. I hope you did enjoy. If you did, be sure to leave me a like down below. Let me know in the comments if you're going to check out this film, or if you have already. As always, I love hearing your thoughts and opinions. And for more content, be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel, DVD Review Studios.
Are you threatening me?